ownership isn't about being given something, it's about claiming. And so you take your life back one choice at a time, and just listening to that voice deep in your heart and learning to trust it. I mean, in that situation, that's the hardest thing to do because you don't trust yourself. You're taught not to trust yourself.
Welcome to part 2 with Jasmine. To remind everyone where we left off last time, Jasmine is a brave person who escaped a high-control religious group in the middle of the night, who left with her 4 children, one of them nursing, and nothing but the clothes that they had. They didn't have a car. They didn't have money. They left everyone they loved and cared about. And they chose a new life for their family. They said, this ends with us. Our children are not going to experience this anymore. And even if our voices shake and we crumble along the way and all we have is each other, we are going to break free from what has held us back. And Jasmine, believing in that quiet little voice inside her head, listening to that, and them together learning and rebuilding again, even after finding out she didn't even have a real high school diploma, is incredibly courageous and brave. I can't wait for you to hear the rest of her story. What would you tell the little girl who was homeschooled? What would you like to tell her?
You know, there's so many things I would tell her, but the journey had to happen how it did in order for us to get to where we are now. And I don't think I would go back and change anything, to be completely honest. There's so many things in my past that are very painful, but there's so many things that I use today, even, you know, the discipline, the work ethic, all those things. But I would want that girl to know that her dreams do matter and that she doesn't need permission to become who she's meant to be. Like, she can make the choice. And there's nothing wrong with her for wanting more and wanting something different than what other people expect of her. To use her voice, even if it shakes, like what you said. My voice has been shaky for a long time. And I'm just now getting to the point where I can have these kind of conversations and not completely just fumble over my words.
Yeah, but you're doing it. You're having it. The bravest thing is not to do what's easy. You know, so many people say, well, it's so hard. But then they don't make the good choice or the right choice. It is hard and you are facing it. Like, you are facing the hardest thing and showing up when you are feeling like it's not going to come out right. That is the most honorable and truthful and brave way I can even imagine for anyone to speak. And I have so much respect for that. And now, since you have gotten to a different place and your family gets to be stable, you got to build your own home. I mean, there's so much there, like spiritually and all of that. I can't even imagine how emotional that was in building your own home like that. And when people see you now, do you ever have to face people seeing you as not this whole person, someone who understands how hard life can be? Have you ever been met with, well, she has it easy?
Yes, I'm sure. I mean, I haven't ever had someone come out and directly say that to me, but you can tell in the way people treat you sometimes that they think that because you've been successful, that somehow it's just been handed to you, or that you may not understand, what it's like to struggle. Even some people that I meet on the, just on the street, I like to always offer a smile, because I feel like a genuine smile says so much. And, you're not always going to be able to have a 2-hour conversation with someone and open your heart to them. But I always I want to have that soul connection. And I think it can be hard when you're running a business and, I'm a CEO. I have to show up in this certain authoritative way for my team, to, just in the position I am as a leader, but at the same time, I really do believe, and I love nature analogies. I believe that, strength and bravery and steadiness all the things that we admire for, a successful CEO is this
Mhm.
can coexist with that delicate, beautiful, more sensitive side. Like the reason I said I love nature is because I love to see those little plants that like push up through the rocks, and it's amazing to me. I'm just like, how can this piece of grass that you can just trample underfoot, it can break through concrete. And like the metaphor of change that we always use caterpillars and butterflies for. I mean, I've watched that process so many times, and when you see them break out of the chrysalis, they're this dainty creature that could just fall apart. I mean, they are so fragile in that moment, but they are so strong.
Mhm.
And they are this creature that once their wings dry out and the blood pumps through, they can fly for miles and miles way up in the sky and see the world from the sky and take these epic journeys. And it's just like they started out as these little worms, and they
Mhm.
had to be, and they were brave enough to go into this space. And I love these stories because I can totally relate to this. They turn into mush, and they're like in this dark, dark place where I'm sure it doesn't make any sense at all. And then they have to be brave enough not only to go into that space, but then to break out and learn how to use their wings. And it's incredible to me. I love that. And so I am really learning to tap into that power. And I really like to think of the difference between power and force. Like I don't want to be a forceful person. I want to be
Wow.
I want to be powerful.
That's beautiful. I've actually never thought of that. So, what is powerful to you then if it's not forceful? Because it seems that powerful just means stable, firm, trusting. What would you say?
Yeah, I mean, able to make a difference. Like
Hmm.
I think of power as something that can, you know, it can change whole environments. It can like power can build a life that you're proud of. Power is that piece of grass that breaks through the concrete. It brings life into the world. It's always reaching for the sun. It's getting its energy from the source, but it's giving. Power is giving. I think that's what it is. It's something that is expansive. When I think of force, it's something more just like damaging. Like you're running into something, you're breaking your, it's that it's more of a like hard energy. But what I'm talking about is that energy that brings light and life and growth and expansion.
I think most people who've survived things would be more in a forcing energy.
Yeah.
So, how did you get to the other side of that?
I wouldn't say I'm like to the other side. I think I'm still trying to figure these things out, and learning and being open to, you know, acknowledging when I do when I am being forceful, and taking a step back and just being curious about that. Okay, why did I have to do that way,
Yeah.
and then going back, and maybe it's a place I don't feel safe yet, or maybe there's some kind of shield or armor I still have in that area because I haven't allowed myself to heal enough there yet, so just being honest and curious. Like I said, I'm definitely not there yet. It's something I'm aspiring to.
Hmm. I love that. Something that I'm trying to get to is to be the person who, no matter what anyone says, good or bad, isn't affected by either because I know who I am. That's my goal. That is my like goal. Because if I can get to that, then I will never need outside approval again. That is like
Right.
what my goal is. So I love your definition of powerful because I think that is something that I would want to attain to as well. I love that. And being expansive. Being expansive means for you and for me, good for you and for me. It's not taking from anyone and it's not pushing
Right.
through. Hmm. I love that. So, how has been, this is a different question. How have you been able to parent your kids differently? because I'm sure some of the old habits are ingrained in there. And it's scary because you don't know, like, necessarily a different way. So, how have you been able to navigate parenting?
The rest of it, it's been a journey. My kids have had to have a lot of grace with me as I have with them. And we've been through a lot. It hasn't been easy,
Yeah.
but I have really been intentional about my personal growth because I know that that really impacts how I lead them and how I nurture them. And, the times that I haven't been compassionate on myself, like
Mhm.
I it it projects onto them too. And that's
Yeah.
something I don't want as a mother, like I want my children to always know that they're loved no matter what, and my love is completely unconditional. But at times, honestly, it hasn't been because I haven't even known how to love myself. And I think that that's something, especially when you have the kind of background that I did, where love is so conditional and you are valued for what you can produce or how much you can give. It's so easy to fall back to that sometimes and be under that pressure, like to perform or have some kind of expectation of that you need to make your children into something that they
Hmm.
should be. Even the Proverbs, train up a child in the way they should go. You can look at that as train up a child in this certain box, or you can look at it as train up a child in the way they should go because it's them, it's their future, it's who are they meant to be as a human being? Give them
Hmm.
space for that, train them up in the way of support and nurturing and giving them that safe space where they can discover who they're meant to be. So it's been definitely like a mindset shift for me, just having to relearn a lot of ways of seeing things. And I definitely haven't been perfect. My kids have suffered in ways I wish they hadn't had, but
Yeah.
together we're figuring it out. And like I said, we've had to have a lot of grace for each other.
Hmm. Something I heard from some really great author, and I forgot the name, but it was that she's a parenting therapist and coach and has been for like 40 years. And she was on I am the podcast with Glennon Doyle, and it was incredible. And she said that children, their cells and their body and their nervous system, they remember the things that happened unless we focus on the repair. And when we truly admit when we were wrong and we were able to repair that, their nervous system and their body actually remembers the closeness of the repair more than the issue. And I thought that was just incredible because we have the ability, if we remember something that we did wrong with our children, to say, I remember I did this. I want to talk about it. I'm so sorry I did this. And we have the ability to help them heal by our own owning of what we did. So when you say you're doing it together, you weren't perfect, being able to admit where you've gone wrong and repair and move past that is actually incredibly connective for you and your children. Like they see you, that you know that you're not perfect, then that means they can also not be perfect and you can still love each other unconditionally. So I think that's amazing.
Well, that's awesome. That's really encouraging, actually,
Yeah.
because we have had to work through a lot, and we have had some very honest conversations, and there's more that we need to have.
Mhm. It's tough too. And I tell my oldest son, and when my younger one is older, I'll tell him the same thing. If you come to me and as you get out of the house and you're older and you're on your own and you remember things and you're like, that really hurt me, tell me, because it's never going to feel good for me to feel like, oh, great, I messed up, but that's me. I have to deal with those feelings. I'm not going to put that on my child. And I think I always want him to know that I'm okay with being wrong and I can also see where I should have done better. And that kind of accountability is what kids look for. It's accountability. They learn from that. They learn from your actions, not what we, say. So that's like showing real life accountability that you care about your impact on them. And I don't think you were given that. I
No.
100% actually know you weren't. Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell me right now, with where you are now, what is the most important thing that you want to accomplish in your life?
I know that there's a reason that I have the story I do.
Mhm.
And I do believe that each of us was put on this planet at this time for a, a reason. And it would be selfish of us not to discover what that is. And for me, since I have the story I do, to share it is really important for me, and to find a
Mhm.
way to share it in a way that's empowering for others and opens doors for them, gives hope. I don't want anyone to have to be like, it took me 30 years to finally make the choice to change my life. And
Mhm.
after, there's a lot of undoing I've had to do. But
Mhm.
what if there's people in a situation that they need to break free from, and they're able to get that courage sooner, and then have hope and help and support along the way.
Mhm.
For me, it took several years before I even knew where to go to find help, to take the next step. And it was a lot of discovery in chaos and confusion. But if I can shine a light and help others get through it, just a little easier, that would mean everything to me. And this year I have committed to writing my story. So I'm in the
Yeah.
middle of writing right now. My book is called Dreams That Matter,
Oh,
because I
wow.
really believe that every person does have a dream, and it's up to us to make them matter. If
Mhm.
that dream that's in our hearts, and to really listen to what that voice is telling us, what our soul is telling us, and
Yeah.
to make the choice to walk in that direction, no matter how brave you have to be, and find the courage. And a lot of us, sometimes we wait to move until there's more clarity, and sometimes that day never even comes. If I had waited for crystal clear direction on what I needed to do, and my husband and I made this choice based on just some kind of perfect plan we had, we never ever would have left.
Mhm.
We would still be stuck there. And but it got to that point where it's like that voice in inside was pulling me, and I finally listened. And then we were at a place together where we decided to do it together, which I'm very grateful for. you know that I have a life partner that was supportive, but it did take him years to come along. And I'm a very loyal person, so I don't know if I would have ever done it on my own.
Mhm.
But I'm grateful
Wow.
for how it played out.
Yeah.
And he's had to do a lot of work as well.
Mhm.
So I can't remember what the actual question was. I think I just started rambling.
No, that's great. No, that's
Okay.
great. Rambling is as honest. For you, I want to ask you two more questions. One, what are you doing now to make sure that you are taken care of as much as you are giving? I'll ask you that one first. Yeah.
That I am taken care of,
Mhm.
like myself.
Mhm.
Oh, wow. I've had to learn a lot in this area, because it's definitely not something that I was raised to do, is care for myself,
Yeah.
or think that I should take the time for that. So it's been a work for sure. And lately I've realized that the more I give from that place of truth and honesty, it really does take a lot of energy, and it takes a
Yeah.
lot of myself. Well, I mean, I'm giving of my essence. And so I feel more tired if I don't take the time to replenish and fill my own cup. And so
Mhm.
it's definitely like a new level that I've been getting to lately. And I understand, oh wow, this is what people talk about when they talk about filling your cup and needing to make sure you take care of yourself in order to be able to give like you're meant to give. So yes, I'm still learning. And
Mhm.
I also have discovered the real like necessity of that. And I I don't know if you know Lisa Nichols, but I listen to a lot of her things. And she talks about how she doesn't give from her cup anymore. She lets her cup overflow and then she gives from her saucer. So that's what I'm aspiring to. I'm aspiring to fill my cup to where it's overflowing. And then I give from the overflow and not from the deficit.
That is beautiful. And I am going to make that my goal to be there one day. And if you could give someone who might also be in a similar situation, it could be any kind of high control group or somewhere that they are just not really safe, what piece of advice would you give them to be able to be brave to leave that situation?
If I go back there because I feel like I need to understand where that person's at, to know what they need to hear. They wouldn't even really know that their voice mattered or that voice inside of them that was speaking, that was really their heart spark, telling them like that there's more, there's something different, or that thing where they start to question and they're, you feel like silence is actually strength. And so they don't have to keep trying to be strong, they actually might need to let it start falling apart and listening to that voice deep inside. I know for me, when everything really changed is when I realized that I did have the power to choose and that choice would change everything. And that it wasn't just about obedience, but I was actually the owner of my life, despite what I had been raised to believe. And ownership isn't about being given something, it's about claiming. And so, you take your life back one choice at a time. And just listening to that voice deep in your heart and learning to trust it. I mean, in that situation, that's the hardest thing to do because you don't trust yourself. You're taught not to trust yourself. And so I don't really, really know what exactly that person would need to hear, but that's what they would need to start to do is learning to trust that voice inside.
Mm-hmm. And then what would you tell them for when they do get out? If they are freshly have decided to make that choice, what now?
First of all, I would say you're so brave and, you need to recognize what you just did and be so proud of yourself. And then no, it's not going to get easier for a while. Like it might even get harder, but find the people who can help you. There's so many good people in this world, and don't just listen to any advice, but look for people who are going places you want to go and have been through hard things, but have gotten through, because those people do want to help. They want to support. Those are the people who have, trailblazed for us. And most of those people that I know now are so generous with their time and their resources, and they want to support people like you who are willing to be brave and bold and take the step toward building the future of, the life you're meant to have.
Yeah. Because it's not going to be easy. And,
no,
getting help along the way is difficult, but
it's so hard. Erin,
yeah.
Let me tell you, I remember in the first year that after we left, I had some medical things I went through. And like I said, my husband had his own journey and he was used to just working really hard to support the family. And that was his role, right? And I was still at home with my nursing baby and my youngest who couldn't go to school yet. And I had to figure out how to get myself to the doctor. I had no car. I had no people to call to ask. And I remember like really not knowing what to do. And it was like this situation where I've got to get help. I had this medical emergency and I had just started going to the rec center across the street from where we lived in this tiny little duplex. And they had a childcare there. And one of the old ladies who was in the childcare, she was the only person I could think of to ask. And so I walked over there and I said, Miss Sandy, is there any way that you can stay with my girls for a couple hours? And she looked at me and she realized I needed help. And I said, I will pay you. I will, I'll do whatever. I need some help. And it was the hardest thing I had ever done. I hadn't, I was the helper. I was the one who people came to have to ask somebody, especially someone I didn't really know, it was so hard. It was like the bravest thing I ever done, but it's a muscle that you build, right? And then
Mhm.
I needed that muscle built because I had to do it a lot more as, as it went on. But she was happy to help, and she came over to my little apartment and stayed with my kids as long as she needed to, and she definitely didn't charge me one penny. And sweetest little lady. But and that's how people are. Like most people, if you ask for help, they are so happy to give it.
That's amazing. Yeah, it is difficult to ask for. So I would say from what you said, get quiet, believe the little voice that comes out, that spark in your head. And then when you get out, yeah, it's going to be really hard, like much harder than you might have even anticipated. But ask for help because people want to help you and it is worth it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that's amazing. And now you're building luxury homes. This is not new now, but I'm just the duality of the having nothing, being in pain, having no choices, to realizing inside you still have a choice, even when externally there look like there are none. Inside you did have a choice. And now, I mean, you get to help other people because of how well you're doing. And then you get to continue investing in your own dream. I mean, I think I'm just amazed by you. I'm so proud of you. And I'm excited for you to finish your book. Jasmine, where can people find you to connect with you?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram at jas.a.chambers, and I have a website where I've just share pieces of my journey, and it's jasminechambers.org. And if you go on there, you can sign up for my newsletter. I send out an email once or twice a week, and it's really just meant to be empowering little messages. It's nothing heavy. Well, maybe sometimes it might be heavy, but it's
Yeah.
not. I've really promised it's not going to just be noise or fluff. It's going to be something meaningful to me, and I hope you find meaning in it too.
Oh, I'm
And
sure people will because your writing is amazing. It really is.
thank you. Yeah, and I would love to just invite you to join my journey. It's we're it's a work in progress, and it's a labor of love, and I just feel so honored to be at the place in my life where I can start giving back.
Yeah. I I think it is an honor. And it also started with so many choices that you made. So you need to be taking everything that good that comes and reminding yourself, this was because I made the hardest choice of all. And I'm so proud of you. I can't wait to keep supporting you. And for everyone listening, thank you for tuning in today. And we will talk to you again soon. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you, Erin.